to chew on. The Lunchroom on RCI, Monday to Friday, 12:45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom, informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI, food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. It's a brand new week. It's Monday, the 17th of March, 2025. This is program number 1339 of the Lunchroom. I'm your host, Calix George Jr. And of course, in addition to radio 101.1 FM, you can also get us at our website, rcistlucia.com. And you can download all our previous programs on that platform as well. We are also streaming live on Facebook. You can search for us on the official page of Radio Caribbean International. And please be sure to like and share that link as well with your friends and family. And don't forget, if you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate, you can do just that by calling in to 452-3046. That's our main landline number here. Again, it is 452-3046. You also have the option of reaching us via WhatsApp. And you, of course, if you're calling from overseas, you've got to save that number in 758. And then the number is 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. That's our WhatsApp number if you want to message in or you want to call in on WhatsApp as well. Well, we're going to take a little bit of a look in time in terms of history for today. And it is in the Catholic liturgical calendar, St. Patrick's Day, and that's seen as the major feast day over in Ireland, and St. Patrick's Day parades and other events certainly happen around this time, and that's because it's believed back in the year 432, St. Patrick at that time, about age 16, was captured by Irish pirates from his home in Great Britain and taken as a slave to Ireland. In the year 1861, on this day, Italy was unified into a single kingdom under Victor Emmanuel II, following the military campaigns led by Giuseppe Garibaldi. 1905, on this day, saw Albert Einstein finishing his scientific paper detailing his quantum theory of light, a foundation of modern physics. 1939, on this day, the Battle of Nanchang between the Kuomintang, the KMT, and the Japanese broke out during the Second Sino-Japanese War, which occurred between 1937 and 1945. And on this day, March 17, 1942, Belzec concentration camp opened with the transport of 30,000 Polish Jews from Lublin. We now move on to our dish of the day.
One test for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need test for your balcony. Come down to Test Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Test Plus, Test Plus, Test Plus. Big test with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. This all kind of tests. Come down to Test Plus. We also got gas and vanity. Boss, you'll see. Come down to my nobody. We got the best tests on island. Trust me. We are located Lance Road in Castries, Bosses Brazilians, and Flag Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Test Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program for today. And we do hope that you are good and you're having a very blessed new week. And of course, what a day, a difference a day makes in the news cycle. And certainly we can see lots of interest now being placed on, once again, U.S. Caribbean relations. And that is, of course, as a result of over, I think on Friday, a news article being published by the New York Times, effectively raising concerns and getting into the details with respect to what was being discussed as a draft list for new travel ban being proposed by the Trump administration, and that was being targeted towards a number of countries around the world. Now, that article, and we're just going to share it very quickly with you, as I said, was published based on a leaked, internal communication, at least that's what they're suggesting, by the U.S. State Department. And you would recall perhaps back in January 20th, on the same day that Mr. Trump became president, excuse me, there was an interesting, there were a number of executive orders that were released at that time by the Trump administration. And they dealt with a number of different matters. We've spoken about a number of them, of course, as we've moved on. But there was actually one in which he asked for the Department of State to, within 60 days, prepare a report on the matter of security and the potential use of a travel ban for countries around the world. Now, if you go back in time a little bit, you may recall that this was not the first time that Mr. Trump has gone this route. He has, in fact, instituted what are known as travel bans in the past. And sometimes those travel bans have, in fact, the last one that he brought forward was expunged by former President Joe Biden. So, of course, you're beginning to already see the politics at play in this entire debacle. Excuse me. So there is that desire by Mr. Trump to satisfy his support base, many of whom, of course, were fed consistently that the way one needs to make America great again is to effectively block out what is perceived to be negative influences and security threats from the outside, and of course to institute policies that would bring back the American economy. And so, of course, this is where his whole line of thinking regarding tariffs is coming in, because somehow he believes that he can bring in tariffs to impact trade, which might then bring in more business onto the shores of the United States, and so on. But of course, we can discuss that ad infinitum and nauseum if we so choose. But to come back to the matter of the travel ban and what is being put out there through the New York Times is as follows. It reads as follows. A draft circulating inside the administration lists 3 tiers of countries whose citizens may face restrictions on entering the United States. The Trump administration is considering targeting the citizens of as many as 43 countries as part of a new ban on travel to the United States that would be broader than the restrictions imposed during President Trump's first term, according to officials familiar with the matter. A draft list of recommendations developed by diplomatic and security officials suggests a quote-unquote red list of 11 countries whose citizens would be flatly barred from entering the United States. They are Afghanistan, Bhutan, Cuba, Iran, Libya, North Korea, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Venezuela, and Yemen, the officials said. It goes on. The officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the sensitive internal deliberations cautioned that the list had been developed by the State Department several weeks ago and that changes were likely by the time it reached the White House. Officials at embassies and in regional bureaus at the State Department and security specialists at other departments and intelligence agencies have been reviewing the draft. They are providing comment about whether descriptions or deficiencies in particular countries are accurate, or whether there are policy reasons, like not risking disruption to cooperation on some other priority, to reconsider including some. The draft proposal also included an orange list of 10 countries for which travel would be restricted but not cut off. In those affluent business travelers, in those cases, affluent business travelers might be allowed to enter, but not people traveling on immigrant or tourist visas. Citizens on that list would be subjected to mandatory in-person interviews in order to receive a visa. It included Belarus, Eritrea, Haiti, Laos, Myanmar, Pakistan, Russia, Sierra Leone, South Sudan, and Turkmenistan. When he took office on January the 20th, Mr. Trump issued an executive order requiring the State Department to identify countries, quote, for which vetting and screening information is so deficient as to warrant a partial or full suspension on the admission of nationals from those countries. He gave the department 60 days to finish a report for the White House with that list, meaning it is due next week. As I mentioned, remember, this was an article from last week, Friday. The State Department's Bureau of Consular Affairs has taken the lead, and the order said the Justice and Homeland Security Departments and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence were to assist with the effort. Spokespeople at several agencies declined to comment or did not respond to a request for comment. But the State Department previously said it was following Mr. Trump's order and was, quote, committed to protecting our nation and its citizens by upholding the highest standards of national security and public safety through our visa process, while declining to specifically discuss internal deliberations. The Times and other news outlets reported this month that Afghanistan, which was not part of Mr. Trump's first-term travel bans, but fell to the Taliban when the U.S. withdrew its forces in 2021, was likely to be part of the second-term ban. But the other countries under consideration had been unclear. It is also not clear whether people with existing visas would be exempted from the ban or if their visas would be cancelled. Nor is it clear whether the administration intends to exempt existing green card holders who are already approved for lawful permanent residency. The Trump administration on this past week said it had canceled the green card of a Syrian-born former Columbia University graduate student of Palestinian descent, Mahmoud Khalil, because he had led high-profile campus protests against Israel's war in Gaza that the government says were anti-Semitic, setting off a court fight over the legality of that move. Some of the countries on the draft red and orange lists were sanctioned by Mr. Trump in his first-term travel bans, but many are new. Some characteristics with the earlier lists: they are generally Muslim majority or otherwise non-white, poor, and have governments that are considered weak or corrupt. But the reason several others were included was not immediately clear. Bhutan, for example, was proposed for an absolute ban on entry. The small Buddhist and Hindu country is sandwiched between China and India, neither of which were on any of the draft lists. The proposal to sharply restrict, if not outright ban, visitors from Russia raises a different issue. While the government has a reputation for corruption, Mr. Trump has been trying to reorient U.S. foreign policy in a more Russia friendly direction. A decision to include Venezuela could also disrupt a nascent thaw in relations that has been useful to Mr. Trump's separate efforts to deport undocumented migrants. The proposal also includes a draft yellow list of 22 countries that will be given 60 days to clear up perceived deficiencies with the threat, excuse me, with the threat of being moved onto one of the other lists if they did not comply. Such issues could include failure to share with the United States information about incoming travelers, purportedly inadequate security practices for issuing passports, or the selling of citizenship to people from banned countries, which could serve as a loophole around the restrictions. That list, the officials said, included Angola, Antigua and Barbuda, Benin, Burkina Faso, Cambodia, Cameroon, Cabo Verde, Cape Verde, Chad, the Republic of Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, or Congo Kinshasa, and is what sometimes it's known as, Dominica, Equatorial Guinea, Gambia, Liberia, Malawi, Mali, Mauritania, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, Sao Tome and Principe, Vanuatu, and Zimbabwe. During Mr. Trump's first term, courts blocked the government from enforcing the first two versions of his travel ban, but the Supreme Court eventually permitted a rewritten ban, one that banned citizens from 8 nations, 6 of them predominantly Muslim, to take effect. The list later evolved. Soon after he became president in January 2021, Joseph R. Biden Jr. issued a proclamation revoking Mr. Trump's travel bans, calling them, quote, a stain on our national conscience and, quote, inconsistent with our long history of welcoming people of all faiths and no faith at all, end quote. Mr. Trump's executive order in January said he would revive the bans in order to protect American citizens from aliens who intend to commit terrorist attacks, threaten our national security, espouse hateful ideology, or otherwise exploit the immigration laws for malevolent purposes. And that is the full article, which was written by the New York Times, which was published on March the 14th, 2025, by Charlie Savage as well as Ken Bessinger. Now, I read the entire thing because quite often we hear lots of things coming out and we don't often get the actual and full context because we're getting a lot of reported speech. And of course, the article is to some degree about something which is being proposed and has not, in fact, been in any way officially communicated by the United States administration. And that's, of course, very important to understand the stance thus far by many countries, some in the Caribbean, which, of course, were for the first time hearing about this proposal of such a travel ban and what was happening there. So, of course, on the 15th, the day after this article came out, on the Facebook page of Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, the following was written. The government of St. Lucia is confirming that it has received no formal communication from the United States of America on media reports by the New York Times and others alleging that St. Lucia is included in a draft list of visa restrictions recommendations. The government of St. Lucia and the St. Lucian Embassy in Washington, D.C. are actively seeking clarification on this matter. Media reports have proposed that St. Lucia is to be placed in a yellow category of countries that would have 60 days to address concerns. The USA is a friend of St. Lucia and remains a key partner in St. Lucia's development. We look forward to an even stronger relationship between our two countries. The government of St. Lucia will provide updates on any official communications related to this matter. And likewise, the Prime Minister of Dominica, on his Facebook page, he also issued a statement as well on this matter, effectively saying pretty much the same in terms of the structure of his release. The one post that was a little bit more detailed of the islands that were named, I'm not speaking, of course, of the Caribbean islands, the 4 Caribbean islands which were named within that list, was that of St. Kitts and Nevis. And the Prime Minister of that country also issued a statement, I should say, which reads as follows. And it was also released on the weekend, on the 15th. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis acknowledges the publication of a New York Times article referencing the Federation in an allegedly leaked draft list of recommendations detailing 3 tiers of countries whose citizens, quote, may face restrictions of entering the United States. In response to the article, the government of St. the government of St. Kitts and Nevis and its embassy in Washington, D.C. have engaged with U.S. officials. Prime Minister the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew confirmed today that no formal or informal communication has been received from the U.S. government regarding the alleged inclusion of St. Kitts and Nevis on a so-called yellow list. The draft list reportedly suggests that countries placed in the yellow category have, quote, 60 days to address concerns, end quote. However, the government is not aware of any such concerns raised by U.S. counterparts. And it goes on to say, since August 2022, St. Kitts and Nevis has maintained consistent and open dialogue with the U.S. government, particularly in relation to significant reforms within the Federation Citizenship by Investment Program, or CBI. Most recently, in January, Prime Minister Drew participated in a 3-day multilateral meeting in the United Kingdom, with senior officials from the U.S. State Department and Treasury. This engagement, along with ongoing discussions, underscores the Federation's commitment to international cooperation and adherence to global best practices in the CBI sector. Following that meeting, a consultant had begun the process of drafting a sub-regional regulatory framework for CBI programs across the 5 Organization of Eastern Caribbean State, OECS, territories that operate such initiatives. The consultant and the Interim Regulatory Committee recently met with Prime Minister Drew and other officials from St. Kitts and Nevis to advance this process. The government assures the public that it remains committed to transparency and accountability and will provide updates should any official communication regarding the leaked draft list be received. These principles are central to the nation's governance, and the people of St. Kitts and Nevis will be kept fully informed. Prime Minister Drew reiterated the Federation's diplomatic stance, affirming that, quote, the United States has been an invaluable development partner, and we are grateful for their contributions to our Federation over the years. We are committed to strengthening our relationship. The government remains steadfast in continuing to engage constructively with international partners in a manner that is transparent, respectful, and beneficial to all. And that was a release which was issued by the government, the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Terence Drew. So you can see there, of course, a bit more detail because in the instance of St. Kitts and Nevis, they perhaps thought it necessary to provide some clarity on what was the ongoing diplomatic relationship with the United States. And in fact, they also made specific mention of the CBI program, the Citizenship by Investment program, which, of course, is a program similarly held by a number of countries in the Caribbean, namely Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Lucia, as well as Grenada. Now, of course, many are asking, well, what exactly is the cause of this proposed draft, if in fact at all it will materialize? Because as we read in the article, what was being quoted by the New York Times and then subsequently, I think the Reuters news agency was also able to independently get its access to that very same memo, if you like. And they too independently also came out to indicate the same. And since then, of course, a number of other news agencies and publications like the Times, Time Magazine, they've also come out to quote this matter. So, of course, the New York Times is a pretty reputable agency, but they have very clearly indicated that what they were quoting was already dated and was, of course, a draft of what was being considered by a number of these agencies, which had been tasked by President Trump to come up with a proposal regarding travel bans. Now, of course, in looking at the what we have put, and if you would like to look at it, of course, and some people would not want to speculate at all, but we seemingly have within the Caribbean context 4 out of the 5 countries which in fact have, well, you could say these countries in fact have CBIs, right? They've got citizenship by investment programs, and that seems to be the similarity between all of those countries. What has also been stated is the matter of, within the article itself, it also mentioned the concern that in the event that the United States goes ahead with this travel ban on the red list countries and orange list countries, right? The countries which we listed very much early on, the likes of the Libyas and Bhutan, which we mentioned, a very strange choice, Bhutan, a country that's noted more so for its happiness index than anything else, and of course many other like Afghanistan, Venezuela, those countries for which there is a proposed red ban, an outright ban. They raise the concern that if persons from those countries in fact have gotten citizenship through these CBI programs, then would they potentially have a loophole of a sort of a backdoor entry into the United States of America? And that is, of course, something that we've heard before in terms of concerns. I mean, if we actually are to look at travel bans that are in place right now in the world, the country that is in fact banned the most right now is Russia, right? Russian travelers currently have the most bans in place. There are a number of countries in Europe that have placed travel bans on Russia, from Estonia to Latvia, Lithuania, Finland, Poland, Czechia, Norway, right? A number of these countries have put in place travel bans. Many of them have in fact been in place since 2022. And you would recall a couple of years back in the early days of the Russia-Ukraine war, there was a call by the United States and other players that the CBI programs, all right, the citizenship by investment programs that were in place in our islands and our countries, should in fact place a ban on Russians, and I think also people from Belarus, from in fact being able to obtain citizenship. And so remember that, of course, I no doubt you would. And so we've seen that there have been quite a lot of efforts to ban Russian travelers. And perhaps for security reasons, this is one of the main reasons, but also it was seen to be or meant to be a sort of a punishment for Russia in terms of isolating it as a country. There are other countries that have had travel bans as well. For example, I think North Korea has had a travel ban in place by the United States of America since 2017. And just to be very clear, what a travel ban is, just to quote Wikipedia, a travel ban is one of a variety of mobility restrictions imposed by governments. Bans can be universal or selective. The restrictions can be geographic, imposed by either the originating or destination jurisdiction. They can also be based on individual status, such as health or vaccination, or as driving bans during extreme weather events. During the COVID-19 pandemic, governments banned entry by residents of some or all other countries. Motivation for travel bans may vary in nature, with some being economic, while others being more so politically motivated. For example, if New Zealand decides not to allow travel to the country, the government stops issuing travel visas. Without a valid visa, citizens of other countries cannot enter. So that's just to give a sense of what a travel ban is, and quite often they are in place during wars, which has happened in the past during World War II, this kind of situation if Russia and Ukraine. Sometimes they are related to foreign relations, geopolitics. It may be for economic reasons. It may be for health reasons, like the pandemics, which we witnessed, the COVID-19 pandemic. And so, of course, many are asking then, what is the risk factor in terms of this matter? So, of course, we've heard that there is the listing of those 4 countries, which may become, when that actually, if ever happens, may be placed on a yellow list, which would effectively then say, hey, let's talk. And in fact, there will be a conversation relatively soon between Caribbean leaders and the United States of America. And you'd recall that there have been many, many issues that have been out there of late with respect to the U.S. and the Caribbean countries. One of them has been that of deportation, and that is something that is impacting not just St. Lucia and the rest of the region, but also much of in fact, the entire world, one could say, and certainly especially Latin America as well. So again, we have to not conflate the issues too much, because we do see that there will be a number of issues, and that is one of them. We also have the ongoing issue of Cuba and the United States. Their current Secretary of State, Mr. Marco Rubio, as you know, is of Cuban descent. And we saw coming out of the State Department a seemingly interesting attempt at trying to tank the Cuban medical mission program, which of course has been very, very important to the provision of medical services in many developing world countries, particularly in the Latin America and the Caribbean, and certainly right here in St. Lucia. Many Cuban medical doctors and nurses actually work in our healthcare facilities. And we've heard as well a number of Caribbean leaders coming out very vociferously to indicate that they would not be jolted by these messages being placed by the United States. We've heard from the Prime Minister of Barbados at the recent budget debate over there, coming out as well to indicate she has no issue losing her visa. And the same has been said by the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Honorable Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, saying that his wife and him have no issue as well, doing just the same. So, of course, we know of that issue. We also know of the issue of Venezuela and the relations with Venezuela, as well as with Cuba. And as well, we are also mindful that we are seeing the potential of reciprocal tariffs. We are seeing conversations about the Panama Canal, which of course is within the back door of the Caribbean. You've got to pass through the Caribbean Sea to get there. And we're seeing quite a lot of foreign policy actions being put forward by the United States of America, which have very significant implications for the Caribbean as a whole, and of course, in fact, the world. And so, how those matters will be dealt with, I think there was actually a post which sort of suggested that there may be an upcoming meeting with Mr. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, and Caribbean leaders. It seems that that post has actually been taken down. I'm not finding it anymore. But certainly there is a need for dialogue at this time between the Caribbean and as well as the United States on a number of these matters, which no doubt are of concern. Now, of course, many in the Caribbean are also saying perhaps it is time for the Caribbean to pivot and to look elsewhere in terms of its trade and support. Now, of course, we saw a ban on foreign aid, right? U.S. aid being stopped and being paused, and that has not really impacted the Caribbean that much, one could say, because the Caribbean has not really been a significant beneficiary for some time of U.S. aid in particular. Perhaps getting assistance through things like the World Bank and the IMF, yes, but not through the grant assistance of an agency like USAID. So, in a way, that hasn't really impacted us tremendously. But the potential for things like tariffs being introduced by the United States, even though there may be tariffs on third-party countries, the implications are there because we rely so heavily on imports through the United States of America for other products. And so the United States is effectively sort of the shop or the retail store for many companies in the Caribbean. And so that sometimes that could very well mean that the possibility there can impact on the price of goods and inflation right here in the Caribbean. And so we are hearing, of course, of a conversation regarding the need to see other potential trading partners and to broaden the perhaps more direct trade with other parts of the world. Of course, the critical element in that mix is that our shipping lines, the shipping lines that come through the Caribbean, are not controlled by the Caribbean. And so many of them, in fact, are very much dependent on the US owned or utilize the port of Miami as their main hub of operation to come through the region. And so, so the ability to shift away to other potential points where one could potentially find products, goods in particular, would be say, for example, Panama, or if you wanted to trade more with Africa directly or Europe directly, it would mean that the Caribbean needs to take very seriously its whole logistics and how it actually manages its trade more directly. So certainly there is a lot to be on consideration at this point in time. many are already speculating, boy, do you think this is going to come to a point where we may be faced with a travel ban? I don't think so. And in particular, although we are small islands, certainly, we actually are very much dependent on U.S. companies in significant areas. Like, for example, the airlines that come through here, whether they may be Delta, JetBlue, American, those are U.S. airlines, right? So these are not foreign airlines bringing people into the United States and bringing them, people from the United States into St. Lucia and elsewhere in the Caribbean. These are U.S.-owned airlines, and it's their business. And so I think it's pretty, in as much as, the proportion of individuals flying on those airlines might be about 20% of the total airlift, it's still a significant amount. And if that is removed, you can see the implications for profitability of those airlines. But that's a very long dish of the day, I know, but we just had to get into all those details as much as possible to bring accuracy to this issue. That's our dish of the day. When we come back, we'll take in our weather report.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Because with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. If all kind of tiles come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Boss, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Grocery Lanes, and Flag Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island style.
We have tiles and king sets, pieces and ground. Everything you need is on the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. Quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Bellarosa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. So call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style, Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news. This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island Style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island Style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island Style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island Style.
We have tiles and king sets, pieces and ground. Everything you need is on the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. Quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Bellarosa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. So call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style, Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to the Lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. We've got about 10 minutes to go before the hour of 2 o'clock. and you can call in at this time. The number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. Let's go to the phone lines at this time. Good afternoon. Welcome to the lunchroom. And what's on your plate today?
Hello,
Hi, good afternoon, caller.
Mr. George. How are you and your family?
They're very good. Thank you very much for asking.
Yeah, when you have a dish like that, like 10-course dish.
Well, I wouldn't say so. It's just
You say you must give the people all the thing. You can't, it's too much, man. You give people indigestion, man.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry if you got
That's too
indigestion.
much at one go, man, colleagues.
Well, it was an important issue to unpack.
The knowledge, the research that goes into it, the information and the analysis. People welcome that. But then, I mean, are you speaking to the persuade, trying to those you that persuaded already, or are you trying to reach people who trying to get a grasp and would like to be more informed?
Well, you see, caller, in this instance, there's a lot of things being said, and I don't think a lot of people never even read the article. So in the first instance, I felt it important that that article be read out, and it took a little time. So I still think it's important that that was stated, because sometimes we hear a little piece here and we hear a little piece there. The article was circulating, and a lot of people thought that it was something that had been implemented. They didn't even realize it was a draft. They didn't realize that so I had to give the full context. And you may not appreciate it fully, but I thought it was important. Sorry?
To me, I don't know. I don't see that necessarily. The way this thing is written, it's clear that there's some sort of condition they are required to meet, and nothing has really been imposed yet.
Precisely.
And there's a deadline of 60 days to do A, B, and C, whatever they have to do.
Well, that was not even spelled out, but yes.
No, that in one paragraph that's spelled out.
No. What I'm saying is that the specifics as to what they may ask you to do was not necessarily spelled out. They just gave a general indication that you would be given 60 days to, address concerns, right? But in terms of the specific concerns, they were not very
clear.
The
article you came with, gives it specifically what we must do.
Precisely. It didn't specify to say, well, you CBI countries, you need to ban people from ABCD, that kind of thing. So it didn't say that.
But what you're saying, what you read out, give the details about exactly what they want us to do.
What I read out was simply what the article was indicating was the general frame of what is being proposed.
Yeah, but I say I don't see how that taking so long.
Well, it did.
The general thing.
It did. Anyways, go ahead.
Anyway, I mean, maybe sometimes I get the impression that callers are really not needed. Is this a call show or the Calix George lecture?
Oh no, it's a talk show. That's what it is, caller.
But Calix, man, you can leave 5 minutes for people to call and call it a talk show.
Well,
if that talk show is your talk,
we have time, caller. We have. But look at it. We've spent about 5 minutes now, 4 minutes talking about whether it's a talk show. It's too long. But go ahead, though. I'm sure you had something.
No, I don't have nothing to say, but I just find it.
Oh, I thought you had something specific. Okay,
that thing is going on and on and on. You don't call that a talk show. That is my colleague George lecture.
Well, if you
wanna,
wanna,
I still listen to it sometimes when I feel up to. But I can't get the feeling that there is any talk show, because you just go on and look by your own admission.
No, it's a talk show because you're calling in, caller.
I was amazed when I see we well into. I think just now will be 2:00.
Yeah, but that's not the norm in any case. We don't normally go out that long, but in this instance, it was important to do so. But look, we've already spent 5 minutes just talking about it. So
it's your show. All right.
All right. Take care, caller. Have a good one. And of course, if you want to call and tell us what's on your plate, you can do just that. Let's take it on the line. Good afternoon. Welcome to the lunchroom.
Good afternoon, Mr. George.
How are you doing, caller?
I'm not too bad.
Okay, wonderful. Go ahead.
Now, I'm going way back when. You remember before time, they used to have what you call the cat and nine.
Okay.
The
The
cat
whip.
and nine tail.
Uh-huh.
It's something, wire string and lead ball bearing, between them. And when they sentence you, they used to say, well, I sentenced him for 16 years and he had to get 18 lashes.
Mm-hmm. Or 9
Hello?
lashes. Yes, I'm with you. Go ahead.
18 lashes. And there is nothing people have fear like the cat and nine. Yeah. Do anything, but they so fear it. Now, people talk about bring back hanging. What's about we bring back the cat and nine before we bring back hanging? Help me there.
I don't know that, well, from a human rights perspective, whether that would be permitted
they used to
call
say that is barbaric. Barbaric.
Yeah. So I don't know
But people like Sparrow. Sparrow have that song, the gunfighter. And Sparrow have another song. So I'll give you a tiny little bit of it, and we'll still go back on the same topic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sparrow said, when you talk about bad, is I that who mad? With those criminals that they have in Trinidad, they inventing bomb with bottle and stone. Trinidad soon be a battle zone. And when they do these things, they walking about in town, calling themselves famous man in town. When the police hold them and he arrest them, do not fight them, do not imprison them. Take them in the square where everybody could see. Be them with the cat, or Lucy Bantu done with that. My mama told me, long time wasn't so. You could walk in peace anywhere you have to go, either day or night. You never have a fright, and nobody never seems to trouble you. But nowadays it is so they will lick you down for a green mango, and when they do this thing, they walk about in town calling themselves famous man in town. I stop there.
All right, thanks for that, caller. What is on memory lane? Yes.
Pardon me?
I said thanks for that.
So there is nothing they had to fear, Mr. George, like that cat and nine.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's no longer on our books,
by
caller.
By the time you finish taking 16 lashes you have to take, you cripple when you come out from prison.
And maybe that's what people are trying to avoid.
Because it's lead and wire, it's cable wire, the string, to get the string, and then they bury the lead in. Some places, like Grenada, you might see the cat and nine, but we have no museum because they had it in St. Lucia. So if we had a museum, we could display the cat and nine, and people would know what it's all about.
I see. Well,
so I myself said, instead they bring hanging to hang people, let's bring the cat and nine first.
Well, caller, the last time I think there was a suggestion of a magistrate putting out a judgment to flog people. I think that caused quite a lot of uproar, and I don't think the society is too keen on going back in that direction. We've banned things like corporal punishment.
What's about some places? I think Trinidad still have hanging.
Some Caribbean countries still have the death penalty on the books, but are in fact
we have
not.
it on the book as well. St. Lucia have the hanging on the book,
but they in fact are not being applied. So that is the situation at play. Even in the United States of America, recently there have been very interesting concerns being raised about the methods of for execution. Yeah. And just recently, I think a man from North Carolina chose to be executed by a firing squad, which is something that has come back on the books apparently as a means of execution. And people are debating the whether some of these methodologies should be still there. But in principle, though, there's a big question as to whether we should be executing people at all. Most countries have gone the route of banning
So,
capital
well,
punishment.
if it's so, we can take it out of the on the book as well.
Well, I don't know why.
So why they keep it on the book for so long?
Sometimes people we have things because we don't want to touch it because it's taboo, and we know that it's in a way is something that we're not doing, but we still want to have the fear maybe of having it. I don't know. I'm not sure that
it's not a deterrent, because right now you can stop people from killing people.
Right. So, but it's yes, as of now, I don't think it has been expunged from our law. So, and it's the case with other countries too. So maybe we'll see what happens with that. I remember there was a whole debate as to whether it might change if we eventually go to the get rulings from the CCJ, and so I think it's unlikely that that'll be the case, but that's where it's at right now.
Anyway,
all right, then, caller.
I know for sure it's too much killing in this world.
Okay, I think we've seen
Trinidad, St. Lucia, all the another bad place again, I think, is Venezuela. It's too much killing. They have to find some way, or can they bring back Devil Island? Did you ever heard of Devil Island?
Bring back Devil Island?
Hello?
Like an Alcatraz?
Devil Island, that's a place in South America, in the French part of South America. They call it Cayenne.
Cayenne, yes.
There is an island there they used to call the Devil Island.
A prison island,
that's
basically.
Where the French used to send most of the bad murderers and gangsters. They used to send them there to prison.
Yeah, Cayenne, in fact, was a penal colony for a very long time. Yes. But yes, I mean, I'm not sure that those things necessarily are changing how people view it. I mean, there are attempts at incarceration on a large scale. We're seeing, I think El Salvador has become very famous with its mega prison and its very high rates of incarceration. But we have not yet. We're not yet.
There was a film, Tony Hopkins and who else? Dustin Hoffman. There's a film with them too. They escaped from Devil Island.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, well, I mean, whether it's Devil Island, Caller, or Alcatraz, or Rikers, or Rat Island, I don't know that the whole that's the end of it all.
Actually,
the issue
Devil
of
Island was called Albatross.
Okay, but that's interesting indeed as well. But my point is that incarceration in and of itself, I don't know that necessarily is the solution. If we are not rehabilitating, if we are not actually changing the form of incarceration to ensure that it is in fact helping the individual to reform the individual, then we probably are not going to.
Yeah, but the way we have it now, like in St. Lucia, a man just finished kill another, and you put him in prison, and the next morning he asks him, he's going on strike. He wants bacon and egg. He wants his quick oats porridge.
I'm not sure that it's like that, but
between a few months, he look as fat as a fat rat.
I'm not too sure about that, Caller, but thanks very much. Sure? I don't know if that is what happens in prison. But thanks very much for that contribution, Caller, and have a good one. And of course, we will continue to take in your comments tomorrow, no doubt, as we continue our program for the rest of the week. And we do hope that you have a very blessed one. I'm your host, Alex Shaw Jr., saying goodbye.